Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another video with On Point Politics. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And today, we're actually interviewing a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jake Angeli. The media calls me the QAnon shaman.
So, Jake, how's everything been? You just received your pardon from President Trump. How do you feel about that?
Relieved. I'm quite pleased.
So this is a very interesting thing because I've always been curious. I've never gotten to talk to anybody, from that day that was there. What was the experience that you actually had at the Capitol? So the first question I have for you is kind of like, what were you there when Trump gave the speech before everybody was at the Capitol?
Mhm. Yeah, the ellipse, yes.
What do you recall his rhetoric being like that day per se? Because the media obviously says that.
I've been to a bunch of his rallies, bro. It sounded like another rally.
Right. So, like, because, the media was always saying, like, oh, he was instigating for people to go to the Capitol and all this and that. And as far as I'm aware, I didn't even when I saw it live, because I actually saw that speech live on television, I didn't even get that feeling from him at all, actually, that he was trying to get people to go. And so I'm assuming you kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, it was the media is lying as usual.
Hmm. And so can you break down what was kind of what exactly happened in terms of you guys going from the speech to the Capitol and like getting inside? Like what was that whole thing like?
Well, I walked away from the speech because it was getting kind of boring and repetitive. So I walked away near the end of it and walked over to the Capitol. Um, all hell broke loose when the police fired concussion grenades, tear gas, and rubber bullets into a peaceful crowd. All right, that's what happened. Is that they did that, and there was Antifa and BLM, and there was provocateurs in the crowd, agent provocateurs. So the whole thing got out of hand really fast, and I think it was by design.
And I also have a suspicion that that was the case. And so you think that that was basically done by design and stuff. So what was kind of like what happened? What made you go inside the Capitol? Because people say, oh, people broke in and stuff, but if you look at the footage, the Capitol Police were letting everybody in at some point.
Well, no. The initial breach when I went in the building was unlawful because people broke in through windows and kicked the doors open from the inside. That's why I went into the Capitol because I saw the chaos that was ensuing and I sought to remedy that chaos and ensure that peace and nonviolence were the purveyors of the day. And I went into the building to stop vandalism, violence, and theft. And the video evidence is there to support my claim.
Wow, that's very interesting because it's so funny how the media tries to paint you like so differently from what you're saying your intentions were that day. It's so interesting. And I guess what they did is they kind of took your caricature of whatever that was and they kind of used that imagery to make it seem like you were there causing chaos and all that stuff. And then, in reality, you just wanted to go in there to kind of just tell everybody to pretty much stop the chaos from ensuing essentially.
Yes, well, and just remain peaceful and calm.
Right.
Like no violence. That's really bad energy. It's a sacred space.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I think that the whole way that that kind of unfolded, I remember seeing the video of you coming into the I believe it's the Senate chamber that you walked into, or was it the House? Which one was it? Was it the
There
Senate
was
or
a Senate. It was a Senate. Yeah, and I was escorted around by the police because I volunteered to help.
Oh, so you had told the police that you wanted to help like make sure nothing was pretty much happening.
Yes,
And so the
yes, and I
wait,
told them there was people in the Senate.
so you talked to the Capitol Police and you volunteered to help with the process of making sure nothing happened, and then you were still criminally charged after the fact?
Yes.
That's very interesting. And I don't know, I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, I've seen a lot of the Capitol footage where like the cops are starting to let people in at a certain
That's
point.
on the House of Representatives side, from what I understand. I was not there for that. I've seen some of the footage, and from what I understand, that's on the other side of the building after the building was already breached on the Senate side.
Right. And so and so when you there was a video that I saw of somebody that they arrested and they get uncuffed in the
I saw
hallway.
that too. Mm-hmm.
And do you believe that's one of the federal like provocateurs and whatnot? Because that's what I think it is.
One thing I do know is that what we were told is not true. So that leaves a vacuum for the truth. It leaves a vacuum of speculation. And so, unless that vacuum is filled, unless that void is filled with the truth, then you're going to have a bunch of people trying to fill that void or fill that vacuum with their speculation.
Hmm. And another thing is when you what ended up happening after the whole thing was over? Because I don't know what happened. I don't know if you were arrested. I don't know if you left. Like,
I turned myself in. My mother told me the FBI was looking for me. So, um, you know, I called them. And said, hey, what's up? I heard y'all are looking for me, and I agreed to meet them on the 9th of January, and that's when they arrested me. Really, what it comes down to, bro, is what you got to understand is the government can keep you in a cell, locked up all by yourself for 3 years, according to the law. Okay. They can keep you detained without a trial for up to 3 years by saying you're a threat to society or saying you're a flight risk or, saying that, the case is getting pushed out for whatever reason. And that's essentially what we're dealing with here.
now moving past that, President Trump basically pardons everybody. He commutes like about six people, I think it is, and he pardoned the rest. And I believe you received a full pardon, essentially. And so now that that's pretty much over, thanks to, your support, online, your vocal support, Philip Anderson as well, he was being very vocal about making sure that Trump pardoned all the January Sixers as well. Everybody was actually able to get their full pardon. And if you want me to be completely honest with you, like I didn't think he was going to do it. I thought that the media was going to hit him like very hard that week and like kind of do this whole thing where it's politically poison. And I generally thought like it's not the pardons are not as unpopular as make people think make it seem, but I didn't think they were like net favorable. So I thought he was going to have a lot of people come in and be like, "Hey, you really can't do that." But what he did was very smart. He like nipped it in the butt on the first day at like night after the whole media frenzy's over. So at night it just kind of was like, okay, well I'm doing it and that's it. And it's done. And his favorables have maintained, which is I think that really speaks a lot of the state that the country's in and how much the media is despised right now. His favorables went up after he did that. And everybody, all the political pundits, everybody, because again, I'm more of like a electoral, politics guy. Like I was predicting all the states for the 2024 election. That was like my thing. And so from that perspective, a lot of people around me, except a few, would have said like, "Oh yeah, if he does that, Republicans would be screwed in 2026 and all this and that." But I actually think if anything, that helped them out. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts on that if you have any.
What, on 2026?
Like just like what do you think that him pardoning all the J Sixers is gonna help out the
Yes, that's going to help. It's not going to hurt.
right?
He's a man of his word. He ran on that shit, right? So why would he be hated for that?
Right,
Makes no sense.
right. And so now that, the whole situation has kind of, and luckily, things are getting worked out and whatnot for the most part. What do you think is next in terms of the Trump administration now with all of his new appointments and everybody and all these investigations that may possibly happen with Patel and stuff like that? What are your opinions on that of these nominees?
I'm getting my popcorn ready. They've all been marginalized and aligned by the systems that they are about to go into. In that regard, they know the dangers and the pitfalls and the feeling of having a tyrannical force, a tyrannical government force come after you. So I think that they're going to be wise and strategic with the investigations that they choose to conduct and the charges and prosecutions they choose to file.
Right. And I think that this is going to be very interesting because Patel is a very, unorthodox pick for, FBI director where he is the person that really kind of helped expose Russiagate for what it was, which it was a hoax. And not only that, he found out that the Clintons and the Obamas were spying on President Trump the entire time while that was happening. So it was really when they were calling him a puppet of Russia, that wasn't even the case at all. It was really the exact opposite. And I think that, and this is just now, like, this is just kind of bantering now, but I think that for me in 2020, I'm 20 years old. I'm super young. So like I'm very young. And I think that it's so interesting when I was younger, I had a family member kind of tell me, "Oh, Trump's a racist, Trump's this, Trump's that," and 16, and I didn't like Trump at all because of then, I'm a kid. So it's like, you don't know better, right? And you see all this stuff and the way he talked, like, I didn't have any friends that talk like that. I don't have any family members that talk like that. So to me, it was very foreign. And he comes in and it's so funny now that I'm older and I'm looking at older clips of Trump with all these celebrities and all these people that hate him now, and they all loved him before. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that was really I think the realization of that later on in like after 2020, once he was gone, I think that started really spreading around. And I think that really did a number on them in 2024, in my opinion. What do you think was the number one reason why the Democrats lost in 2024, if you had to pick one?
Because they didn't win in 2020.
Hmm, interesting. No, and I think that I to an extent, my opinion on that's kind of interesting because I think more so the election interference was more done on social media than like actual like ballot stuffing. I feel like if there was no ballot stuffing,
Regardless, it doesn't matter. They didn't win fairly. It
right,
doesn't matter how they quote unquote won. They didn't win fairly.
right,
You look at 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024, there's clearly a massive bump in 2020 during the most irregular election in our nation's history. And if you look at the events that ensued afterward, when Biden got into office, it becomes quite clear why it is that these individuals were attempting to hijack the government. If they're willing to steal a presidency, if they're willing to rig an election, then you better believe they're willing to do all sorts of other corrupt shit too. And that's exactly what's taken place from 2021 until 2025.
Hmm. What do you think about what do you think about JD Vance?
Um, he's going to have to prove himself. I mean, he's sharp, he's smart, you know. But most people that, or at least it used to be, most people that went to Ivy League schools were sharp and smart. Um, the question is where does his loyalties lie, with the American people or with his donors? And that's the same question that we have to ask everybody in DC. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. We have to remain objective.
Mhm,
We have to remain firm and steadfast. We have to remain nonpartisan and
mhm,
loyal only to the American people and the Constitution and God above all. Okay. So I hope JD Vance is everything that America needs him to be.
mhm.
But whether or not he is up to him.
Is the question, right? And it's so funny because you say nonpartisan, and I agree with you. I think the true definition of being nonpartisan is not is being loyal to America and the Constitution itself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's very upsetting to me that there's so many people that are in politics or that are politicians that serve all of these people that are hidden from us. And I think that's just that's not what the founding fathers wanted. And they do all this and they play these little tricks like now with birthright citizenship. I think it's ridiculous the way they're trying to twist that because clearly the founding fathers never would have thought in their right mind that a
The
president would
federal
have.
government would open the borders and
Yeah.
allow anyone and everyone from across the world to just come in illegally and not actually go through the vetting process and then just start having kids and then creating a basically a slave state, because that's essentially what the Democrats were trying to do. And you can tell that's what they're trying to do when they say shit like, "Oh, well, who's going to be there to pick the crops?"
Yeah, it's
Like,
so
"Oh,
it
wow, wow, okay, I see, okay."
no, it's funny because they say the party's flipped, but they never did. They never did. They just knew that once you kind of got into the 80s, the 90s, that they kind of had to let all that
If I
go.
may, what it is, I think, is that the Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it is. Because think about it. Think about it. Hold on. Prior to that, the
Yeah.
Democrats were pro segregation.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, LBJ realized that if he gave this win to the black people, that they'd be eating out of their freaking hands for the decades.
And that's what he
And so
said
what did they
himself.
do? They gave them the Civil Rights Act. Then they create the projects. Then the CIA floods the projects filled with black people and black families, floods the projects with drugs and guns.
Yep.
Okay. Just totally. And then also shoots Martin Luther King Jr., shoots Malcolm X, destroys the civil rights movement. And on top of all that, they arrest all these young black leaders in these communities that might take MLK or Malcolm X's spot. Right? They arrest them and say they're the ones that are trafficking the drugs when it was actually the government the whole fucking time. So you can't arrest people for being a civil rights leader, but you can arrest them and say that they're bringing drugs into their community, and then
Right.
you can give them a 20-year sentence, and everybody will cheer, even though they're innocent. So like this is the devious level and the devious nature of what we're dealing with here, and it knows no political party. It is
Right.
not just loyal to Democrats.
No.
Republicans are involved too. But let us not forget Robert Byrd, KKK Byrd, Democrat, longest standing Democrat senator in American history, from what I understand. Also a KKK member, friend of Joe Biden, friend of Hillary Clinton, friend of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And from my knowledge too, LBJ, he had to kind of pass it anyway because I think the Republican Congress was gonna like veto his veto or something like that. So he kind of had.
It was a strategic and
Yeah.
political move, and if his goal was to enslave people, then it was a wise move for him to do it,
Yeah.
because if he didn't, he would have had all the slaves overrun him. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, yeah, pretend to be the good guy.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what happened. And I think now it's so funny with the whole illegal immigration thing. It's literally the same thing. It's you're right. They always say, "Oh, who's gonna do this?" And sometimes people are more direct about it. Sometimes people will say that, like this freaking bishop that was trying to lecture Trump, which I thought that was so ridiculous. Like, how in the world is a bishop allowed to just lecture the president in a sermon? Have you seen that? No. Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh my God, there's like a video of Trump and Vance like in church service after they got inaugurated the next day, and literally she the bishop starts lecturing Trump and Vance about there's Americans that are scared right now, and there's lesbian, gay, and trans people in all sorts of communities, and that you need to protect them and this and that and blah 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 in front of everybody in the sermon, like literally in the sermon in front of everyone. I was like, what in the world is going on? That's that,
Some
yeah.
people are dumb.
And then even like the same thing, she was talking about all the migrants too. And she was like, oh, who will pick our crops? Who will do this? Like she even said it herself in front of everybody. And it's like, and then she started doing like a press tour after that and said, oh, I lectured the president. It's like, dude, you look like a fool. And this is why the Democrats I think are in a horrible spot right now because they try to use different arms of different things. And it's just so painfully obvious that it's like opposition, that it's just like and then what it's funny is you have the left and the right, and the left has gone so left that people like Tulsi and Robert F. Kennedy, who would have been left 20 years ago, are now in the middle, or they're on the kind of on the right a little bit now.
And
Because
that's the other thing is the right has gone a little bit to the left too. But then there, because of the fact that the right has gone a little bit to the left, there's also people on the extreme right, the
that's also
woke right. You know, then dude, it's that's why I just say stick to belief in God and the belief in the founding documents and the founding principles. Give to Caesar what is Caesar. Give to God's what is God's. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Right. I think that no, yeah, and I think that the next couple of years, no, and I completely agree with you in terms of that. I think God is the most important thing that we're gonna have for our country and for the success to keep moving forward. And I think that we just gotta, yeah, we just gotta trust in God, and I think that's gonna be the way we go forward from now on. And I think that it's gonna be important to make sure that we're nonpartisan, that we hold anybody accountable for anything. I think it was hilarious when Kennedy called out Sanders in his Senate hearing, saying, "You take all this money," and he tries to be cute, and he's like, "No, I don't take any PAC money." Like you notice how they use those words. I don't you take any PAC money because what they do is they just have the individuals donate all the money to them.
They just don't individual donors. Yeah, I know, dude. I know. And that's why it's like, well, they're just exposing themselves. Let
Yeah.
them do it.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, and I think now for the midterms and for the foreseeable future, especially with these, you saw the just before we end this off, did you see the new chairs for the Democrats or no? You didn't?
Oh, you're talking about Hogg, David Hogg or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, the captain of a sinking ship. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious how they were like sitting there trying to read like they're literally like reading this thing and they're like, we need to choose one male, one female, not binary. It's like, how do you not learn? Like they're literally doubling down. They're doubling down, and I didn't think that was gonna happen. I thought that Ben Wilker or something was gonna get the chair because he was probably the only chair that would have he completely came out with an ad that was like, we need to go back to supporting laborers, and we need to go back to that. Like it was like a 90s Bill Clinton 90s Democrat type ad. I was like, whoa, if he becomes the chair, we're gonna have some competition. But they elected the acolyte of Tim Walz, Ken Martin, as the main chair. It's a guy that's friends with Tim Walz, who wanted Minnesota to become the first trans refugee state. Imagine that. That's crazy. And there's a video of him, like all the Biden COVID policies, him pointing to all of the policies, like dancing and stuff. And you got David Hogg too, who said he told everybody not to vote for Patola in Alaska. That's one of the reasons why she lost. Because he was just telling people, oh, she's not anti-gun enough. She's not anti-gun enough because that's like his gripe. And then she
Well,
lost it.
you know that whole thing about with that Chinese immigrant that asked David Hogg, can you guarantee that the government will never become
And
tyrannical? And he
he
says, I
said,
cannot guarantee that any government will ever not become tyrannical. And she said, then the Second Amendment, then this argument about gun rights is over, because if you can't guarantee the government's not going to become tyrannical, then everybody deserves to have guns.
yeah, and that's the truth. And it's to me, I also think it's like I don't own a firearm, at least not yet. But it's like, why would in the right mind, like I mean, obviously, I mean, people that just depends. Like, I mean, people could have whatever they want depending on like, I mean, you could have a bazooka or whatever. I don't know. Like maybe that's
Well, my thing is, dude, is that like, look, what do you need it for, right?
no, yeah, like I'm just saying, like people
What
can
do you need it for? And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the right to have it. What I'm saying is that if you're going to go and buy a bazooka, then you have to know that that's going to make certain ears perk. And you're going to be like, okay, what do you need a bazooka for?
no, but I'm
You know
saying
what I'm saying? All I'm saying is that like we also have to be realistic about what it is that we're talking about here. I know a guy who is mentally unstable, was able to purchase a firearm, ended up killing a guy because the guy was strung out on meth. This mentally unstable dude was strung out on meth, and he had his gun, and dude was sleeping with the girl that he liked. It wasn't even his girlfriend, it was just a girl that he liked, and he got jealous and shot the dude, killed him. Okay, that dude has a history of mental instability throughout his childhood. How the fuck did he get a hold of a gun? Why is he buying? Why is he bought it legally too? So
Yeah.
like, look, I don't think he should have had a gun. And were it not for the fact that I know him and I know this situation, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have the opinion on it that I do. But when I heard that dude had a gun, I was like, wow, he better not hurt anybody with that. That guy's unstable. And then lo and behold, he ends up having to do time because he murdered somebody. So
Right.
like when I say, oh, you want, well, you should have the right to have a bazooka. That's fine. But you have to know there's going to be people that go, huh, why do you want a bazooka? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
My whole
what are you
point
going to do
was
with
like,
that?
right. My whole point was like, yeah, like certain weapons and whatever, like it may raise questions, but my whole point was everybody should be able to have a firearm because at the end
Oh,
of the
yeah.
day, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
And
I was trying to get at.
I don't think we should have like bans on AR-15s or whatever. And this is another thing, and I think this is very important, okay? The most important thing that we arm is our minds. This right here. Okay. If you don't arm this, then it doesn't matter what you have in your hands, bro.
Mhm.
Okay. If you got nothing up here, then it doesn't matter if you got a nuke if you don't know how to use it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's not about the firearm, it's about whose hand it's in and the
Mhm.
mind that's behind that hand. So what we have to do is we have to make sure three things in this country and we'll be all right. Our people are well informed, well armed, and well fed. If we can do those three things, everything's going to be iron.
Thank you so much, Jake, for coming on. I really appreciate this. It was an honor to interview you. Had a lot of curious thoughts, obviously, as you've heard throughout this interview. What do you have any closing statements?
Yes, you have the power. And that I think is the one thing that has been kept from you most intensely is your own power. You vote with your time, your attention, and your currency every single day. What system are you voting for? Are you voting for the system that's tearing the world apart? Or are you voting for the system that's putting the world back together? Are you voting for chemicals in your food? Or are you voting for God made nutrients in your food? Are you voting for future generations to have clean air, clean water, clean information, real information, and a clean government and a good government? Or the opposite? The power is in your hands. And that also means the responsibility is in your hands. So I would just ask, take that responsibility seriously. If you like what you've heard here, go to my website, forbiddentruthacademy.com. That's forbidden truth, TRUTH, academy.com. You can also go to my website, shamanmeme.com, if you're into cryptocurrency. You can also go to Rumble, Yellowstone Wolf AZ on Rumble. That's Yellowstone Wolf, all one, Yellowstone Wolf AZ, all one word. And then you can also go to my X profile at America Shaman. That's America Shaman at America Shaman on Twitter.
All right, Jake, thank you so much. You have a good one. And guys, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave your comments and thoughts down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.